Hey everyone, this is Mrs. Owsley. I am the advisor of the Epitaph, and I want to recommend a book to you. The book I'm going to recommend is called The House on the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. It is one of my favorite books from 2020. I listened to the book on audiobook, and I highly recommend that if you are going to read it, that you try to listen to it. The characters are incredible, the story is super heartwarming, and the voices actually that are used on the audiobook are amazing. I would call the book something like a Harry Potter-ish type book. It is fantasy. It has to do with magical creatures, but it is realistic feeling, not cheesy. I highly recommend it. So The House on the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. I hope you'll read it. Thanks, bye.
Hi guys, my name is Alan and I am the copy editor and senior social media editor of the Epitaph. And today I want to talk to you about one of my favorite books of all time, Anne of Green Gables. And this book was written by Lucy Maud Montgomery, but she uses the pen name L.M. Montgomery. And it's the first book of its series, but like many series, the first book, aka this one, is my favorite. This book was published back in 1908 and talks about a young girl named Anne Shirley who is an orphan who goes to live with Matthew and Marilla Cuthbert, who are brother and sister, on their farm on Prince Edward Island, which is somewhere in Canada. I'm not totally sure where in Canada. I really enjoy this book because Anne is has such a fiery personality, and she's relatable sometimes, and she loves talking about stuff, and she just goes on and yammers. Fun fact about Anne of Green Gables is that this book has been adapted into film countless times, such as Netflix's Anne with the E. My favorite one is probably PBS's L.M. Montgomery's Anne of Green Gables. I highly recommend you go check this book out, and even though it's kind of old, it's still a great read.
My recommendation is The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. It's a book about a guy who has to solve a mystery at a party by traveling into the body of various guests. What I like about it is that it actually has rereadability which is rare for a mystery, and you get to see the mystery getting solved by the lens of the several different guests whose bodies he inhabits. And I like that it also explores beyond just the mystery and kind of makes you think about something deeper.
So I would recommend reading I'm Not Dying With You Tonight by Haley Siegel. It's a realistic fiction book, and I really enjoyed it because the author did a great job of providing two different views to the same situation, and that was really eye-opening and just overall a very interesting read.
Hello, my favorite book is Matched by Ali Condi, and this is a romance and science fiction novel. It's basically about a society who gets to decide who you love, what you do, and basically just who you are. I would recommend you reading this book if you like science fiction or if you just like romance.
Hi guys, one of my favorite books is The Mysterious Benedict Society. So this book is a fantasy book about 4 children, Rennie, Kate, Sticky, and Constance, and they're all super talented and unique in their own way, and they pass a test to come together and form the Mysterious Benedict Society and are sent on a mission to an island where essentially they have to defeat an evil genius. So one reason I really like this book is the characters. I think the characters are everything a good character should be. They're relatable, they have their own flaws, they're unique, and they're likable. So I would want to be best friends with the characters in this book, and to me, liking the characters is one of the most important aspects for me to like a book. In addition, I think the plot is super engaging and the plot twists are effective, so you will want to read to the end. And it also speaks to the themes of like children are more capable than we think they are, and the themes of like loneliness and fitting in and leadership and all that stuff. So really meaningful book too. And finally, this book is funny, and I also want to talk about how it's a kid's book. So like as high schoolers, mostly I think a lot of us are reading young adult fiction and that stuff, but this is actually directed towards middle schoolers, And I actually like that about it because I find that like young adult fiction books have too much romance in it, and I just kind of, me personally, I like more action-packed books that have sort of unrealistic circumstances that wouldn't make sense for like people like us, and I just kind of like that in books. So I think people who like Harry Potter, Percy Jackson, and any other sort of fantasy adventure book would really like The Mysterious Benedict Society, and even if you don't like those books, I think you should also give it a try. Thanks, guys.
Hi, my name is Karuna Chandran, and today I will be talking about Concrete Rose by Angie Thomas, and the category is YA fiction. This book is actually the prequel book to the book The Hate You Give, which is also an amazing read, but I just happened to have this one on hand and I just read it, so it was very fresh in my mind. What I love about both novels is that they really portray the issues in a very complex manner. The author is not judging or picking sides, but she's showcasing all the different views of the different characters and how they're getting through their lives. And it's quite a fascinating read, and I always seem to empathize with the main characters a lot more than I do for other series. This book in particular focuses on a lot of really important issues such as toxic masculinity. So it's a really great read. I had such a fun time reading it. I really got hooked into it and just couldn't stop. So yeah, I completely recommend it for anyone out there who's an avid reader and would love to learn something new and something that's very relevant to today's world. Thank you so much.
Hello, so the book that I chose is Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas. It's YA fantasy, and the reason why I love this book is even though it's a little bit difficult to get through in the beginning, I love the characters so much, and the main character's relationship with her best friend actually reminds me a lot of my relationship with my best friend, so it's just a book that's very near and dear to my heart.
A book that I love and would definitely recommend is If I Tell You the Truth by Jasmine Carr. This novel is told in a mixture of poetry and prose, which is what immediately set it apart from the majority of the other books that I've read in the past. This author tells the story so vividly and so powerfully, and she also touches on a series of very important issues, especially in today's world, such as police brutality, immigration, domestic violence, depression, and anxiety, and these deep themes and messages that are embedded in the novel really add to the story as a whole and make it very insightful to read, so I would definitely recommend it.
Hello, my favorite book is Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Alire Sens. It is a young adult contemporary novel. It follows the story of Aristotle, who is a more shy and reserved person, and Dante, who is way more outgoing. This book includes them throughout their young adult lives, figuring out what to do next and how they shape each other's personality. I highly recommend reading this book. I just felt a range of emotions while reading this: excitement, sadness, happiness. And I've never read something remotely like this book. So yes, definitely read this.
My favorite books are the Shinkanzen Master series, and they are preparation books for the Nihongo no Ryokuken, aka the Japanese Language Proficiency Test, which is also known as the JLPT. And they have them for levels N5 through N1, and they're really, really good for preparing for the test. And they cover like all the concepts you need to know. So they have one for vocabulary, they have one for kanji, they have one for reading and listening and grammar. And if you look at this, they have like, for example, they have like grammar concepts, and then they have practices as well. So yeah, I think they're really good.
Okay, I'm gonna just... Hi. Okay, so hi, my name is Mia. I'm a senior from the Epitaph. One of my favorite books is You Will Not Have My Hate by Anton Laris. I picked it up from the dollar store a couple years ago. It's a pretty short read, about 130 pages, and It's like a good book that I come back to ever so often. This book was written in 2019 as Antoine Leris's response to his wife getting murdered in the November 2015 terrorist attack in the Bataclan Theater in Paris, where the terrorists killed 89 people. It's an amazing book. It's very beautifully written, and it's actually the English translation of the French version, but he kind of goes through the journey of the shock of realizing that she was one of the people murdered, to growing and like living his life with his daughter and having to explain to her that her mother is not going to be there anymore. One of my favorite quotes is, no, I will not give you the satisfaction of hating you, that is what you want, but to respond with your hate with anger would be to yield the same ignorance that made you what you are. So it's kind of like the whole journey of not using his hate as a way, how do I say this? It's the journey of getting through loss, so in a way that is not responsive in a negative way, but instead in a growing way. And I think it's an amazing way to see, and it's an amazing learning opportunity. It's amazing to see the way that he responds to possibly the worst thing that could happen to him the worst crime that could the worst injury and pain that could be caused by a person. And he's not responding to this pain with more pain and more hate, but instead he's returning it in a loving fashion. And it's amazing to see his whole journey with that, and how he kind of talks to other people, and how he raises his daughter like this as well. This is an amazing book for if you're dealing with loss, or also if you're preparing to deal with loss, because he kind of he goes through all the the ways of being in pain and stuff, but he kind of gets through it. Yes, I highly recommend this book. It's an amazing read.
So my favorite book changes probably about every other month, just because I read books so fast. But my current favorite book is Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. And this is a mystery novel, and I'm obsessed with mystery novels. I love crime books, so that's probably why this one is my favorite right now. But what's so amazing about this book is that it's literally about so many things. You don't have to love mystery to like this book. It just touches on so many things that anyone who reads this can find something to love. So I definitely recommend this to anyone who's just ready to pick up a book.
One book that I would recommend is King George, What is His Problem by Steve Shinkin. This is a history book, and it covers the entire American Revolution, and the reason I liked it was because it's written in this novel format where it's telling this story, and it has a lot of jokes, cartoons, illustrations that'll just make you laugh and make it really enjoyable to read.
Okay, I have two book recommendations. The first one is White Supremacy. I think this book is so important for everyone to read and kind of assess where their privilege stands within American society. And it even has journal prompts, so you can kind of reflect on how you've helped others, and I think it's just a really good and easy read. The second book is Winning the Green New Deal. I think this book kind of takes the Green New Deal outside of just policies or something that's related to the government or political, and it kind of shows the need for that Green New Deal and how it's actually going to address the climate crisis, and it's one of the many solutions in creating change in America in regards to climate change.
The book I'm going to recommend today is Scythe by Neil Schusterman, and it's a dystopian science fiction novel for young adults. So this book is basically about a world where people can't really die from diseases, accidents, of anything else, like hunger, war, or anything. The only way they can die is by the Scythe. So the Scythe, their job is to basically kill people. And they do this to keep the population down. And then the way they do this is by random, for example, you know how people die from airplane accidents? For example, 300 people dies from an airplane accident each year. They're going to pretend that there's an airplane accident without actually having an accident. And then they're just going to find 300 people who was on an airplane, and then they're going to kill them. Sometimes it's random, like how random people die in the world right now. Sometimes it's planned. And then there's these two main characters who are learning to become a Scythe. And then only one of them can become a Scythe at the end. So the story is basically about them training to become a Scythe, and then kind of not fighting, like going against each other so that they could earn the spot for becoming a Scythe. But then they're both friends to each other, so they don't really want to fight each other, and also they also have backstories themselves too. I really like this novel because first of all, I really like dystopian novels, and I just like the idea the author has for this book, and then the having two main characters and each of their backstories are really nice, and then I just like the character development in this story. So if you really like this dystopian novel, I would really recommend this book.
My personal book recommendation is To Sleep in a Sea of Stars by Christopher Paolini. It is a science fiction book, and it's set in space many years in the future when mankind has colonized multiple planets and is spreading throughout multiple galaxies. I personally recommend this book because of the air of mystery that surrounds it. You never really know exactly what's going to happen next, and it's just quite a fun read to sit down, listen to some music, and read for a couple hours.
Hi, my name is Sochi, and my favorite book is With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. The genre is fiction. I recommend this book to anyone because it's a teen book, first of all, but it's not like those teen books that just speak mainly on relationships. This book speaks on a teen mom who wants to have a career in cooking, but goes through the struggles of having to care for her child when her grandmother can't, and having to be financially stable enough to support her daughter, her grandmother, and her future cooking career. So this book just shows the struggles of everything she's been through, but it also shows that you can get through it, and she did find a way to get through it, even with and without her grandmother's help and her friends' help.